Hi and welcome to Uncommon Threads. I'm Alison Whitlock and today's show is just to die for. We're making this cool geometric quilt with custom dyed fabric and thread. It's the result of a collaboration between 3 members of the Colorado group Material Evolution, and I have with me Carol Krieger.
Hi.
Hi. Lisa Call.
Hello.
Hi. And Christine Ambrose.
Hi, Alison.
Welcome. So how did you guys all get together?
Well, we originally met through a larger quilt group, but individually we became interested in developing a critique group, so that's what got us going.
We also had children about the same age, and that drew us together to have our kids with us.
Excellent. So the kids hang out while you guys get creative.
And Carol and I knew each other before, and when we lived in California. When I moved to Colorado, she invited me to join the group.
And you're a natural fit.
I am, because I have a
Perfect.
small daughter as well.
And you're also creative as well.
And very creative.
Well, today's project is a collaboration between all 3 of you, so I can't wait to get started. Let's get going. This gorgeous hand-dyed fabric is 100% cotton and can be used for anything you can imagine. To get started dyeing, you'll need Pimatex PFD 100% cotton white fabric, 2 ounces of Pro Chem dyes in Pro Sun Yellow number 108, Pro Mixing Red 305, Pro Mixing Blue 402, urea, soda ash and synthropol. This is a really quick dump and pour method of dyeing, so we're giving it an E for easy. All right, Lisa, how do we get started? Tell me about this fabric.
The fabric is called prepared for dye, or PFD. That means it's been processed so it will take the dye better than a regular white fabric. The end results will be better if you start with a high quality PFD fabric.
So you'll get a greater saturation of colour.
Correct. It will be much brighter and you'll be much happier with your results if you start with quality fabric.
Okay, and now tell me about the dyes that we're using. We have 3 colours here, yellow, blue and red, and basically from here you can make a lot of different colours, but what is the particular nature of this dye?
This is fiber reactive dye. That means that the dye will make a chemical bond with the cotton fabric, and then it won't wash out and run like some of the dyes like you can get at the grocery store. These are expensive dyes, and so they will bond and make a permanent fabric.
Beautiful.
Permanent dye.
Now, you're using urea as well. Why do you mix the urea with the dye before you mix it up with water?
The urea allows the water to absorb the dye powder faster, so it's easier to mix it and to get it to dissolve in there so you can get it into your fabric.
Okay, now if you were just to use a store-bought dye, say the one that you would find at the drugstore, what's the difference between the look of that and, say, the dyes that you're using today?
These will be much brighter and much more saturated colors.
So you have some really intense colours. And so what you've done here is mixed your urea with your dye and some water. Is there any particular sort of measurement you need to use?
I use about a tablespoon per cup of water. One of the things about my dyeing method is that I don't measure.
Okay.
The manufacturer says if you do this and this, it will work, but I think that scares a lot of people into thinking they can't dye, but you can just try whatever you want to and dump, pour, and it works.
And away you go. Now, any safety regulations before we get started? Anything you need to keep in mind?
Yes, the dyes when they're in the powder form are fairly dangerous, and you need to wear a mask, and you want to always wear gloves when you're handling the dyes, and you want to not use any equipment that you might be cooking with. If you've used these items with the dyeing, never use them near food, and definitely do not dye fabric in your kitchen.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's get started. Tell me what's the first step?
The first thing we're going to do after mixing up the liquid dyes is we're going to try and choose a color we want to make. I'd like to make some yellow, so I'm mostly going to use yellow. And I put about 1 cup of dye into my fabric. I have 1 yard pieces of fabric. So I'll use mostly yellow, but this yellow is very bright and intense. As you can see when we dip it in here, that's a very bright yellow, and that doesn't please me. So I'm just going to dump a little bit of blue, and a little bit of red in here.
So really from these 3 colours you can make any array of colours. There's like everything in the spectrum you can create from the yellow, blue and the red.
That's correct.
So just mix it up in combination until you're happy with what you have.
Right, and so you can test what you've got and see. And this is a nice brownish yellow, which I really like. So once I've mixed the color and I've tested, I know this is what I want, I'm going to take the liquid and just pour it.
And you're starting with a wet fabric. You've already wet it with water.
Yes, I took the 1 yard piece of fabric and I got it wet and put it in the bucket, and now I will mix this in.
Now you just sort of agitate it so that it really soaks into the fibres. Is there any particular length of time you need to leave this in the dye?
Now that is a personal decision. I like my fabrics to be fairly solid, so I don't like a lot of modeling, so dark and light areas. I want it to be uniform, so I will squish mine around quite a bit.
Okay.
Now if you'd like a lot of modeling, you can just just pour the dye on and then let it sit. You can even pour 2 colors in and then have
More
2 colors in there. So it's, you know, just play around and have fun with it.
Okay, very cool. Now, how do we, once we've sort of got our colour to the saturation that we like, how do we set it?
Well, the dyes as they are now will rinse right out if we were to take them to the washing machine and wash them. So we need to set it with soda ash, and that's basically the same thing that we put in swimming pools.
Okay.
And so it will cause the chemical reaction to set in there. And again, you mix about a half a cup or 3/4 of a cup of the soda ash in with water, and then you take a cup of that solution and you just pour it into your fabric.
Okay, and how long does that need to sit there?
You can set, between pouring the dye on and pouring the soda ash on, it can be anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 hours or a couple days. You know, when I usually do it within 20 minutes. I'll pour it in there. And then again, you want to squish it around so it gets all through the fabric, because you want to make sure you set the dye in
all the way through.
Right.
Okay. And then once you've done that, you're going to rinse it out. Is there, you have a rinsing aid, something that really helps you get that dye out so that it's not going to run out every time you wash?
Right. I use something called synthepol, and it helps suspend the dye molecules into water so that it comes out of the fabric easier.
Okay. And just wash it a few times?
Wash it a few times. You want to let your fabric sit overnight. The manufacturer says you can wait just an hour, but I like to wait overnight. I think I get more intense colors that way. And then rinse it out with the synthepol, maybe 3 or 4 washes in the washing machine.
And you have some amazing colours. You've created like practically everything out of these dyes. Tell me, is there a colourway that you're more drawn to than others?
I am definitely drawn more to the browns and the warmer oranges.
And it's such a nice contrast to have this really hand-dyed fabric and then do something as sort of precise as quilting with it.
It is. This is very imprecise and wet and mushy, and my quilting is very, very tight and controlled.
So this is where you go wild.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for the lesson. Up next, computerized machine embroidery turns this vibrant fabric into a colourful, circle-filled quilt. That's when we come back.